Okay, this weekend, I'd like to talk about identity some more because that's what I'm going through. So I made some notes just to make sure I stay on track, but I'm trying to embrace the identity issue because um, when I had the ShareShop on broken and I had seen myself in pieces during a meditation, pieces of a puzzle that still had the picture, but they were broken. And taking myself back to the beginning of my life, I had to review all of this in depth because this is what I'm going through right now. I'm broken. Okay, so when I look at my childhood in depth, there was no continuity and I was lost. Adults, there was nothing around me with continuity, as with all of us. I mean, I'm sure. Or maybe some families create that continuity, which at some point gives out because that's what things do. But of course, we don't know that at that time. So, um, but that kind of was there from the beginning for me. So I not only was lost from the beginning, but I noticed everybody else around me was lost too. So I stayed that way, right? Except for the fact that once I was a mom, I tried to put that together as my continuity, and it felt so right, but that fell apart too. And the identity in being a mom in the background has been the one that stayed with me the longest and is still there, but it's it's something that is very elusive and um, I couldn't hold on to it too tight because it wasn't there. That's hard to explain. Anyway, it was not something that could stay there, and it didn't. And there's no thing that can stay there, but again, I didn't know that at the time. So even when I think about marriage, the marriage can stay, but the relationship sometimes doesn't. And for me, there's been a lot of that. So nothing has stayed, nothing's going to complete me. Nothing's going, as far as my identity is, I think that being kind of lost from the beginning, my identity kind of becomes, um, it flows with the ebb and flow of what you need to be at the time. However, I latched on to some things. Um, Early 20s, I was vegetarian, never cut my hair. That went on for years where that was, and mom, those three things were probably the most continuity that I had because I hung on to those like crazy. And and then as other things fell apart from my life after years and years of holding on to that, and I was a jogger. Oh wow. These are the most superficial things you can imagine, but anyway, I held on to them. It made me feel like, oh, and I never told a lie. So those things, what I called me. The only thing I really had to hang on to that I thought was good was I would tell you the truth whether you liked it or not. That went from my parents as well. If they asked me something and I knew it was going to be a horrible outcome, that's so be it. But anyway, um, I'm sure I told a lie somewhere down the line. But anyway, that was something that I kept in my heart because I mean, all the times that I remember, I always did, no matter what. So that was the one deeper thing that I held as part of my identity, which made me feel good about myself. It was the only thing that kept me feeling good about myself. And knowing that we're all one, I knew that we're all one, and I knew there was some in uh, endless thread, golden thread that wove through life. The beauty of structure of watching a flower grow, the beauty of trees, structure of the universe and the stars and everything made me in that superficial way, even though that always changes too, but that it somehow was kept me knowing that there was um, something way bigger that I would never understand, but that it always threaded us together. And I really got onto that early on as a child. So, and I imagine a lot of us have that feeling when all things fall apart that there's something there. There's something that remains through all of us. And at that time, you take it as a belief because you don't know how to explain it. You can't explain it to anybody, and nobody wants to hear it. So it's something that's very close to you that keeps you from completely falling apart. And you hold with all that you can. And of course, the birth of my children helped me hold on to that because birth is so miraculous and so wonderful and so beautiful. And when I would think of that experience, um, how that great pain of birthing, it seems, isn't great pain in the midst of this miraculous event. However, anyway, it all wove together for me. It worked for me to keep me from eliminating myself altogether. It kept me uh, knowing there was something. And yeah, at times, circumstances around me, I know this happens to all of you too, so I'm just having to speak for me. So, and it not if somebody's watching or somebody's not, doesn't matter. I just like openly sharing it. Um, so all of those, like I said, that golden thread was I knew existed, but I would never know how to explain that. But eventually in my life, I cut all my hair off. I just, I got upset with it. I got upset with holding that to myself as an identity and just, I just didn't want to be my hair anymore. So I chopped it all off. And a lot of things were falling apart at the time. And um, I chopped my hair off. I started eating meat just because I didn't want anything to call as my identity at that time. That was still back in maybe my early 30s, maybe my late 30s. I don't know. But anyway, it's back then. I think 40 would be more like it. Maybe even later than that. Anyway, um, all time has left me with all these events. So I did that, and it didn't change anything. It just didn't. I just didn't have that to be who I was. Now the mother thing kept hanging on because, well, you love your children so much, no matter what happens. I loved my children so much, and I wasn't able to keep life together for us all, um, to be together. So, in the midst of that loss was a collapsing, of course, but the identity still the mom, or I shouldn't say the mom, because I wasn't able to be a mom, so to speak, for most of my life, but but for only a little while. I was only able to be a mom for a little while, and so it wasn't the mom that remained. It's just the love of your children and wanting them to be okay, and that's always a part of you. So that I don't know if I should say that's a part of identity, but anyway, that part is there. So let me see in my notes. I want to make sure that I cover this. So, when I first started with my childhood, I did want to, when my parents were pleased, I was pleased. When they were unhappy, I was unhappy. And there was just so much um, instability in love and happiness and all of that. So, like I had gone through that whole process that uh, started from there and pretty much never stopped. So now, as still being broken, this is the great recognition that you feel like you should have had uh, a long time ago, but you didn't. So your identity is supposed to, or actually, I see it as you're wanting it so that you can become a better person, whatever. And so you have this identity of who you are that helps you do that. So now, when well, first of all, I want to say Rupert's helping me with all of this, pulling all this together of knowing who I am, which is part of the first video I did. And then the identity being broken is part of the second video I am. So here I am with both. But Rupert helps me get back to um, the the one who knows, or I shouldn't say the one, the knowing, the pure knowing is uh, our source, the infinite being, the all, the God. Um, the deepest part, I didn't go deep enough. I didn't go deep enough. I'm 73 and now I'm just going deeper than I ever have. So it's like Wow. I didn't know that because when I was going deep, I was going deep in my feelings. It was all still a part of the outer me and not the inner I. So that outer me was still all wrapped up in feelings and thoughts and perceptions and all of the things outside. So I was definitely all lost in experience. And that's the way most of us are, right? So recognizing that that's the way I've been to the extent that I've been, and thinking that I was so deep. I was deep in my feelings and my circumstances, but I hadn't, and I still knew there was a oneness and something bigger, but I didn't know how to get to that. I didn't know how to contact that place. So Rupert has a way of, with words, that help you experience yourself that deeply underneath all those things. That's why I appreciate him so much. So that has truly, truly helped me to get underneath all the circumstances and things of things and things and things and things and things to the point of pure knowing. Pure knowing doesn't know objectivity. Pure knowing isn't lost in the senses. It The senses emanate from pure knowing, but when you get to that deepest part of yourself, that pure knowing is just pure knowing. And when we can touch that and know that it is truly unperturbable and peaceful and without anything of distraction or anything, without anything, it's simply peace. So being able to touch that part and know that we all have it. We are all we all have that. We all are that. We all are that. And the rest, all the experience and circumstances and um, all the senses, thought, everything everything emanates from that. So now it seems like my witness part of me, I used to call it myself arguing with myself, but going deeper, now I can see that witness part isn't arguing with me. It's just simply seeing me as I am, truly. My witness part, I think, used to be my self arguing with myself. It was because it would see me in a whole different way. It was me arguing with me. It was. So Now now that that witness is seeing me, is seeing the I in me, and the I is that purest part of yourself that you give a name to is I am. Um, Jesus's name, I am, um, which most religions, all religions reflect back to that pure essence of being, and the name that anything that knows itself is I. There we go into Rupert's words again. So I'm just trying to explain my experience and let you know that this understanding has helped me, is helping me reach that purest place in myself. When I can touch on that, when I can see that, when I can um, go to that place in me, it's not really going anywhere. It's just that all this stuff that I've layered myself in and lost myself in my entire lifetime, it has a hard time of, I mean, it doesn't have a hard time, but it's flaking away bit by bit, and that takes time. I had 73 years putting it there, so let's hope it doesn't take another 73 years to fall off, but I see it happening in such a, I don't really know. Because if you, I'm not even gonna think of it in time because that would be a waste. It's just a matter of being in that true space as much as possible, and it can be behind all the things that you do, I'm seeing, because if that's with me in something that I do, knowing that I'm not this thing, but I emerge from this peaceful, loving, empty knowing that knows nothing, that is the source of knowing. And so if I go about my life knowing that, ah, then the things I do will be on behalf of that rather than on behalf of that shallower me that um, only knows the objective world and doesn't know who I am, the one that's lost. It'll be on behalf of that. If I'm not aware, I am always aware. We know I'm always aware. And um, the all being is awareness. So it's there. It's just me knowing it's there. I do know it's there. but I've been so lost. So I think that this is how we find our true nature and recognize our identity as our source, as our, as being, that empty being that is pure knowing. If we can recognize that part of ourselves in everything we do, then that's our true identity. And so the that has you live in the world with that fullness, and sharing that is like, seems to me like the best thing to do on earth for everything that's going on. That just, I can't think of a more important thing to do in my life. So that's what I'm doing. And anyway, this is a start because that's what I've been doing ever since. Well, I've only been really immersing myself in all of this deeper understanding for the past 3 years. And I went through some other different people and some different, I've mentioned it in my other videos, these different things that I've done. And even early on, even as a child, I was interested in these issues, but not immersing myself in them. But I know that, but I wasn't that. So, um, so I think I've said about all I know to say at this point. I've been well, that's what I lost was my vision of what I was saying, and that was about uh, doing this for seriously for the past 3 years, and so going through these different, grasping for this religion or this study or this place, and then it wasn't until I found Rupert's understanding that he shares that truly helped me. I mean, just the understanding, the experience, um, the experiencing of it, because experience is the true teacher, whether you choose to admit it or not. If that sounds dogmatic, let it be, because that's exactly how it is, because beliefs need to fall away and truth be known is experience. So that's what I'll end with, by golly. That dogmatic statement. All righty then. I will stop for now and probably jump on Instagram for my 15 minutes at some point to say the same thing in a short um, way, sort of. So, um, see you later.